Okay, let me welcome all of you to the course module of financial accounting in the common program. We are extremely sorry for this technical hiccup that we faced. Some students may be still joining. Anyway, we will start the discussion. Just to facilitate today's session, let me share the presentation slides. I hope you can see the presentation slides, don't you? Yeah, do you see the presentation slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No matter whether the number of students is very large, you can interrupt me at any point in time. You can raise your hand, so you better if you can unmute your mic and ask questions, talk. We really do not like this mode of lecturing, but due to the prevailing pandemic situation, so maybe until some time passes, we will have to continue like this. So therefore, the effectiveness of teaching learning is relatively questionable through online modes, especially to a large number of group. So, but you better ask question, because our task, objective is not to simply deliver a lecture, but to facilitate you to engage in learning process. So feel free to ask questions and try to make the class interactive. As everyone know that this model, the module is financial accounting. In a way, this module must be relatively easy for you guys, because every one of you have already learned accounting at GCE advanced level examination. But based, like we are going to discuss something more, or we are trying to build the required platform for you to learn more in the discipline of commerce, business studies, accounting, finance, and all those fields, starting from where you have stopped, or where we have, like you have just put your foundation at advanced level examination. So the subject is offered by Department of Accounting, and details are there whenever you want to refer or make anything. You use these course codes and name and all those things. Contact hours here 45 means direct teaching hours. In addition, there are other contact hours as well. The tutorials will be there. I will explain later. And you are supposed to learn by yourselves as well, by doing reading and in engaging any other activities. Since this course is taught in English, I keep the English as the mode of communication, so that's fair by everyone. Nevertheless, you are allowed to ask questions. Even I can explain in Sinhala, so you can ask questions in Sinhala. Then I can explain them in Sinhala if needed. As much as possible, we'll maintain the the English as the mode of communication. In meantime, I'm so sorry for the Tamil speaking community. My weakness in talking in Tamil, then I'm not in a position to respond in Tamil. But I hope that we can manage either in Sinhala or English. So these are a panel of lecturers. Udeshanthari is the coordinator, Professor Samanthi, Professor Dayananda. So this is me, Anil Fernando. My full name goes as Anil Jayant Fernando. I am a fellow member of CA Sri Lanka and CMA Sri Lanka, and associate member of CPA Australia as well from my professional background. Apart from my professional and academic background, I engage in social activities as well. To some extent, it's rather political activities, not simply petty politics of someone else or any specific party. It's mainly for the society. From that liberal perspective, I engage in social discussions as well, whereby I work as the chairman of the Economic Policy Making Committee of National Intellectuals Organization. Sometimes you may see my videos and other things in other spaces as well. So that's my background. And the other panel of the other lecturers include Dr. Kinsley Karunaratne, Dr. Chaturika Seneviratne, Rangajiva Herat, Chaturanga Sandaruan, and Miss Amali. And recently, so you may have sometime because you're very close pass out students, Dumindu and Dayan. All the instructions and teaching materials and learning supports are available in this LMS website. Already you know how to go like access. So even today's the Zoom link was published there, this web link. Therefore, I'm not taking you there because already you are familiar with this LMS link. Background already told you. This subject is taught on the assumption that you know the very basics of accounting. Already that's there. Therefore, nothing to worry. The coverage of the course is given like this. Today's session is the overview, general idea we discuss. Then next session, that is on Wednesday, conceptual framework, that is also to some extent you have learned in advanced level. Then the preparation of financial statement. Of course, you know all those things, but we will take up a different perspective and different elements and competency levels that we are going to, that we expect from you are a little bit different from the levels that you have achieved at advanced level. So when we take accounting, areas are more or less the same, but learning would be different. Then we will teach you and we'll discuss fair value accounting, accounting for assets, accounting for property, plant and equipment, investment property, borrowing costs. Actually, borrowing cost is a new one, and investment property is also a new one because they are not tested in advanced level. Impairment of assets, so new areas. Accounting for liabilities, lease and revenue. So leases and revenue you have already learned in advanced level. So this is the coverage. Tutorials will be conducted. That will start after 3 weeks time. And all the instructions have been given in your course manual. Please read the course manual already, which have come to you by post, or you may have already come to the university and collected it. Don't worry, in case if you have not received it, you will get it in due course. So please refer to the course manual before these tutorials, and even other lectures as well. So always you are advised to read the respective chapter before attending the session. Assessment, so that's most important for you guys at the end. No matter what we teach, what we talk, what you learn, and at the end of the day, you should be assessed. So what you are most interested in is to see and know what grade I'm going to get. Of course, in this particular course, everyone is guaranteed and assured an A pass and an excellent result if you learn in that way and you have a good understanding that how it is going to be assessed. So to some extent, 80% would be test like assigned to end examination, though that is not the ideal mode of assessing. As of now, 80% comes from your final examination and 20% from your quizzes. Of course, those quizzes are relatively easy quizzes. I hope with your knowledge and understanding and the learning that you would develop from this course, everyone would be able to get 100% from quizzes if you work. But limitations are there. They are announced through the LMS. Only 1 week time is given to answer. And then later on, you can't say that, claim that, no, I had that issue, this issue, I could not complete this quiz. Please do something to cover it up. No way. That is why we have given you 1 week. Course policies are given in the instruction that you can check in the LMS. What you are supposed to read, specific readings are there. Mainly, you have to read the course manual and accounting standards and other related things, so which have been described and explained in your course outline. Additional information or any timely information would be updated and given in LMS. And academic integrity is given one of the most priorities, because nowadays we are really sliding towards unethical practices and integrity may not be maintained. Everyone, like, so it's not your own fault. Our society is being really dragged towards to a place or a society which really encourage and forces you to maximize your utility at any expense in that particular course. So there is a tendency that everyone may engage in unethical practices, but from academic point of view, we do not promote and encourage them, that we do not accommodate them. Then you are not supposed to copy, or you are not supposed to misbehave or engage in unethical practices that would be severely, that would have severe negative repercussions. Classroom discipline is also explained. So as of now, there are no physical classroom, but you better read the policies. Your task, of course, reading is needed. You better prepare by yourself, making additional notes, or even you can refer to additional or extra material in attend tutorials. So if you just go in that way, of course, you can get a very good pass. To some extent, accounting can be learned through using your logical reasoning rather than memorizing. So memorizing, what we call cognitive skills, are not expected that much in this course. Since this subject deals with information, what we want from you guys is to improve and enhance logical reasoning, and not simple believing or memorizing. Then we expect from you to attend lectures, contributions, and all those things. Already I just explained, I can skip it. And that is the basics about our course before getting into the other aspects overview of accounting. But if anyone has a question, please ask now before moving to the next part of the today's session. That is much more about the subject. This is the overview, that part of the nature, structure, and what you are supposed to do, not the content of the subject. 1 minute, I need to check whether recording is, oh, okay, that's been recorded. Just wanted to double check whether it is being recorded. So now it seems like there are no questions. Even I do not see any questions in the chat box. Yeah, all about this initial problem of logging into the system. So that is all. Please feel free to talk. This is a very good opportunity for you to talk in case if you have a doubt. Right. Let me share the presentation. Is it seen to you now? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for the response. Right. These are what we call learning outcomes. Each and every subject that you learn in this course or wherever nowadays in the trend in learning is, we need to specify what you are supposed to gain at the end of the course. So as far as financial accounting is concerned, you are supposed to gain very limited competencies. So they are in names. You must be able to explain the meaning of financial accounting in a way from a broader perspective. Already you can explain the meaning. You know it, I know, but you need to explain it from a very little bit a broader perspective. And compare and contrast financial accounting and management accounting. You know that, like I'll just explain, there are two divisions in accounting. So how are we going to compare and contrast? So are they the same thing or different? If they are different, what are the differences? Right, 1 minute. Some messages. Yeah, some question like so some of your part, because you know you are in the common program, you may have intention of joining the accounting program. Sometimes, like actually you are free to select any program, so of course you can go with your own preferences. There are criteria so how to select, like this is not, I mean the financial accounting is not the only subject on which you would be selected to the accounting department, so you need to perform well in other subjects as well. And another one also has asked, yeah, so when this is going to be physically, like lectures would be conducted, really I do not know. uh, so some of the decisions are politically motivated, some of the decisions are beyond control, so connected to health. We'll see. We hope for the better. We hope for the hope, actually, as far as from our side is concerned, we want to have it soon. Then you must be able to differentiate between general purpose financial statements and special purpose. Already some idea is there. We will discuss in detail what are their relevances, why do we separate them. Then understand the regulatory requirements when it comes to financial reporting. Everywhere as long as you live in a society, you need to live or behave in such a manner by respecting the rules and regulation. We need to comply with these things, otherwise society would be really turmoil or maybe anarchical, where no one would just follow. So when it comes to entities, again, there are lots of rules and regulations there. There are reasons for that. I will explain them later, so that we need to be aware. So one of the competencies is to be aware of these things. So just checking basic knowledge. So it is not, already we didn't still we didn't talk anything about the subject, very basics. But with the knowledge that you have, what do you think? What would be the answer to this question? Yeah, even you can mention, you can even type. If the time does not permit, otherwise I would have gone for a poll asking you. Okay, yeah, many have type A. How about others? Everyone says, yeah, not everyone. Majority says A. I saw only one answer, C. Okay, so we don't have much time. Okay, you better think. There is something what we call fallacy. When we face multiple choice questions, there is a tendency that it comes through psychology and science as well. Whatever the things that we have heard are basically stored in our mind without just letting them to be questioned in detail. As a result, of course, financial accounting to great extent using numbers and quantifiable things, accounting. So therefore, we prefer to write, do computations. So inevitably, you can't avoid that. Just of course, to great extent, numbers are there, then quantifiable values. But it does not limit to quantifiable values. So that could be the reason why we think, oh yes, that would be the answer. No, it's not. Accounting really deals with non-quantifiable or non-financial. So it would be anything, but they are within the caption of information. Information does not mean that they are quantitative. Accounting deals with information, quality information, saying that the company has huge or high quality human resources, or the value of the clientele. You have trustworthy, loyalty clientele. Some of the information can be quantifiable, some of the information cannot be quantifiable. Lots of things would be there. Okay, so therefore, answer is C. Like both, they not limited to one. What is your response? Identify the correct response for accounting process. Actually, this is traditional, little bit, why we have just posed these questions is to show you what we are learning from traditional perspective and moving, what the need for moving towards new dimensions of accounting. Yes, already you have learned these things. Accounting, everyone is seen to be giving the right answer. That is answer B. Of course, you are right, but this is broad and in future because though traditionally we maintain these sequences, sometimes we may not need to maintain these sequences. Sometimes we may have to quickly jump on to some other areas or communication or computation like this. But of course, in a proper manner, systematic manner, yes, without identifying, so you would not be able to record, then the communication and other areas would be there. So some of the sequential order, but not limited, don't worry, then you have kind of good understanding. So this is the definition. Actually, that sequence has been taken from this definition, very old definition. That's what I just told you. This is relatively old one, which has an influence from this particular definition. Identification, measuring, recording, and communicating. So now you can see. So source is 1941, old. We have just taken this to show you. Still, it has a relevance, but the scope has been broadened as of now. Yeah, so this has been further explained. Now we will move on to this. So what's the role of accounting? If I want, I can break this question. What is the role of accounting? Then put question mark. Or what's the role of accounting in a society? So this is a relatively a broad question. And you also may have doubts and questions. Oh, does one of these answers really respond to this question? Oh, anyway, what's your reaction to this one? Yeah. Yeah, different responses are coming. D, B, E. Okay, sometimes the whole. Okay, right. Very good. Actually, I'm happy to see your answers and the way you respond. In a way, it tells me, just gives me some signals that you have a sense of understanding the subject issue. Actually, there is an issue in this question as well. It has not been properly articulated, maybe just purposely, we just put it to talk about. To be honest, um, technically speaking, we'll take the answer in an examination as B, recording and communicating information, but that could be challenged. As many of you guys wrote the answer as E, so E is more advanced than B, recording and communication. So measurement and presentation of information is the present-days language of telling the same thing described in B. So therefore you are right. But if you see this question in a question by traditional conservative examination, oh, answer would be B. So the lesson that you have to learn from here, though the things or the realities of something that we learn sometimes would be something, but when it comes to examination or depending on any other things, so you need to be specifically know what examination is that, what type, what level, and all those things. So depending on that particular level, you need to change the answers. So if this question is to test at very primitive level, you can remain at you can choose the answer as B, so recording and communication. But in a university level or maybe in any other advanced courses after this, if you really question the role of accounting in a society, of course, so sometimes you might argue, say, no, sir, answer is not there. Yes, of course, I agree. Then rather we can move towards E even. So it's a very broad role now in managing, taking decisions. Lots of things are there. If you are really interested in, I would like to give you a name of a research paper. You can find this thing in the internet. I will put that into the chat box. Name of the paper is Governing by Numbers by I may misspell as I remember. I can't remember the spelling, but name is his author is the author of this particular paper is Nicholas Ross. Nicholas Ross in 1990, as I remember, old one, but very good paper if you want to learn something about this role of accounting in a society. How one area is discussed in detail how accounting has been used to govern the general public. If you read this article and if you listen to news in Sri Lanka, oh, you would laugh yourself. Oh, this is how these politicians are making us fool. So every day, so the numbers about COVID vaccine deaths and all these things, even a budget allocation nowadays. So appropriation bill has come, appropriation bill for 2022. So next year has been already tabled, that is going to be debated in the parliament. You would see the vote maybe in December, early December. Very interesting. So you need to be in touch with these things. Then you would understand, oh, how shrewd these guys are, how and why these politicians have been ruling us like fools and donkeys over a long period of time, because we do not understand really, even though we learn accounting, we do not understand how accounting numbers are being used to make fool us. Actually, you should be the guys who you should use the numbers to make them fool. But unfortunately, they use accounting numbers to make you fool and govern you to achieve their petty the personal objectives instead of social interests. In fact, accounting is a subject which caters for the society. The professionals, accounting professionals, are supposed to use their competencies to always preserve the public interest, to serve the public interest. So that's the idea. If you carefully check the evolution of accounting. So therefore, role of accounting is very broad. Now, why accounting is important to an organization? Yes. Again, many things are just thrown to you. Yeah. What's your response to this? Yes, yes, very good. Like everyone, yeah, response as E. Now, yes, you're right. Like now you got some idea that when you quickly glance through the, oh yes, safeguarding assets, obtaining funds, evaluating that, and yes, they are more or less connected and related to day-to-day business operations and activities. Of course, therefore, not only all of above, there could be something more as well. If you are smart enough, sometimes when you answer to multiple choice questions, it doesn't mean that so that explains everything, but you are trying to find out an answer there. You need to understand the limitation of a multiple choice question as well. So within these given aspects, choices, of course, A must be the answer. Though that has not covered everything in about the importance of accounting to an organization. So very good. Thank you very much. How does accounting help to stakeholders? Here, already you have learned about stakeholders. They are different from shareholders. You know, shareholder, that is the owner, IT Karu. Stakeholder is a different term. What is a stake? Actually, stake has not been proper, like specifically defined, but I can say rather properly defined. Stake could be anything. Stake could be anything. If anyone has a business of or relevance of being engaged or engage, you become a stakeholder. Or if you are being influenced by or affected by an action of another party, or your action affects the other party, you are a stakeholder. So that is why in many cases, social issues, accounting or everything, finally there is a particular stakeholder you may have come across called public, or rather general public. Why? Because when we talk about the society, general public is affected by the decision taken by others. And on the other hand, general public can also influence the others. Take an example of a government. So decisions taken by politicians and officials would affect you. So just decision to withdraw the gazette notification on price controls automatically gave rise to increase in prices of so many essential stuff. So the domestic gas used for cooking increased by at a price by a price more than 1,000. So you are affected. Therefore, you are a stakeholder. On the other hand, you choose your vote to elect them to what this party, that party, or even sometimes you may cancel your vote. So that means your action affects and influences others. So therefore, you have a stake. So stakeholder is so any person who has a stake in relation to that subject we talk about. Here, accounting deals with entities. So entity, now if you take what would be in what ways? So there would be numerous ways. So therefore, again, your answer, yes, everyone has given the answer correctly. That is F. If you carefully read, they are specifically identified stakeholders, of course. So that is how they help. Each and every point helps stakeholders. This one, users of information. Users, not users. Users of information. Who use information? This is a little bit controversial sometimes, complicated sometimes. Sometimes you may buy hard that, oh, external, internal, that and this, and without understanding what it is really, who they are, and for what purposes. Why I am saying this is a bit complex, confused, and complicated is that some issues are there. First, we will go through how users are being classified according to dominant textbooks and teaching learning processes, methods in examination. So then we will discuss a little bit about the issues pertaining to this together. Internal, external, first demarcation is made with the very best definition or an identity of an entity, accounting entity. Even again, this accounting entity, there could be many accounting entities you have learned: sole proprietorship, partnership, other association, limited liability companies. So then with respect to all of these organizations, there could be internal and external parties. But this particular demarcation, separation of parties was mainly discussed. Why we wanted to discuss, not because of any other type of entities, but because of mainly limited liability companies. Why? Limited liability company is the legal person. That is the number one you need to learn, not only in accounting, but with respect to any subject or any area in the field of business, even in the society, you have to have a very good understanding about limited liability companies. Because limited liability company is a legal person, like you and I. You are a legal person. I am a legal person. I am an individual. Person is the broader definition, right? So actually the person is the name used for legal purposes and tax purposes. That is why Inland Revenue Act in most of the countries throughout the world defines about the people who should pay tax. If you take all these Inland Revenue Acts around the world, it says every person shall pay tax. Or in other words, every person is liable to tax. Yes, it is true, every person. So person includes individual, that is you and I. Person includes limited liability companies, body corporate. Person includes some other entities, maybe associations, public entities, maybe corporations enacted and established by specific gazette notification. So likewise, so it has a definition. Mainly, it includes individual and limited liability companies. Sometimes within this body corporate includes a trust. Why I mentioned these three? Recently revealed information about Pandora Papers. Pandora Papers revealed information about 330 people around the world, including politicians, politically exposed people, celebrities, business people. So likewise, so many, including 2 Sri Lankan names as well. If you carefully read this information, how they have hidden their wealth in different types of assets such as apartments, jewelry, artifacts. Likewise, those individuals whose names have been disclosed have never gone there and hidden those things by their personal name or individual name. That's the beauty. So they have used another person, because that is a legal person, either limited liability company, that's what they call shell company, or trust. Both are legal persons. Let's see, good things in the society are used for bad purposes. So anyway, why I just gave you a big picture for you to think. It is up to you. Learning is that. So just by hearting and understanding what is external, internal, it is just for the subject, you will learn nothing. Right? Even if you do not understand this well, if you understand and try to explore more what I explain you now, oh, yes, you will understand much more. Hope you got that. Okay, we'll come back to our area, our limited area. Management group. That means, so if you have a separate legal person, company or any entity, accounting entity, that is why we have entity concept. You learn these things. That entity, the difference between that legal person and you and me is the physical substance. Limited liability company doesn't have a physical substance. For example, so big corporations in Sri Lanka, John Keel's, People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, any other Hemas, Haley's, whatever you may name, Unilever's likewise. Can you see those companies? No way. You may see the buildings belong to those companies. You may see employees of those companies. You may see some other wealth, properties, cash, or whatever belong to those companies. And if I ask you to find this company and bring the company or just get me a picture of the company, no one will be able to do this thing. What does it mean? Those legal persons are fictitious, not real, artificially created. So if it is an artificially created person cannot run and behave like a physical person like you and I. If I want to eat something, I can eat by myself. If the company wants to eat something, just consume something, company cannot because there is no physical substance. So he has to support, that is the utilization of funds. Then there should be some physical bodies there to support. Who are these physical bodies? Are the management, individuals, people should be there. That is what we call top management team, headed by CEO. It goes down towards the janitor or clerk or whoever in that hierarchy, but mainly employee and managers. So managers will have the access. Again, now you see the big distinction. I just told you that the life for the corporation is given by those who work there, those who engage there, those who run it, those who steer it. So mainly managers, and I just told you, including all these employees. But here, employees have been, and trade unions have been classified as public group or external category. Oh, how come? Why? Just a little while ago, so they were identified as internal because without these employees, entity cannot function. So you see, kind of confusion. Of course, there's a confusion. How do you solve it, resolve it? Actually, even these employees, other than managers, so-called top management, sometimes directors also involved, so later on that's there. So role of directors and managers take all the decisions on behalf of other employees and even consumers. So in terms of decision making, in terms of accessibility to information, these normal ordinary employees do not have a say, do not have any bearings. Therefore, automatically they become, like, from practical point of view, information point of view, they become external. Who become internal are only the management. So since board of directors work with managers, help, actually they are not managing, they are also called, they have to support managers. Therefore, we can recognize them as internal parties. But The main role of board of directors is to link and supervise, oversee what managers are doing on behalf of shareholders. So therefore, board of directors is an agent of shareholders. If someone wants, so you can say that board of directors has both characteristics. When it comes to partners or sole proprietors, owners, so if the entity is not a legal person, there is no legal person, then who runs the business? Whoever who invests money, either sole proprietors or partners. Therefore, partners and sole proprietors can also be recognized as internal parties, but proper word there, if you are a partner or a sole proprietor, once you invest your money in the business, you are an outsider, because business is a separate entity. You learn it, right? According to the entity concept, once you form or started a business, business is a separate entity, no matter whether it is a legal person or not. Of course, sole proprietorship, partnerships are not legal persons, but it is an entity, separate entity which has a separate identity, separated from owners and other parties, from everyone. So therefore, entity is an independent body. So that partners and sole proprietors are external, but practically partners and sole proprietors engage in the management they carry out. Therefore, this should be, a proper word should be partner managers, owner managers. That should be the way to define. That this is how they become internal. Partner manager, owner manager, because they manage the business. Managers, of course, by the name, the word suggests, already I explained you. Officers, so of course, see here part and parcel of managers, need not to worry that much. Mainly you can keep in your mind that they are the top management. External parties, therefore all the other group are the external. So that also can be further, external parties can be divided into primary and secondary according to FASB definition. So depending on the intensity and the purpose of using information. Anyhow, external parties are different from internal parties, and they do not have direct information about the organization or information which is internal to the entity. That is the difference. So that investors would be there, existing investors. Who are they? They are the shareholders. And investors who want to invest in companies, they also external. Suppose that nowadays there are lots of initial public offerings, no? Companies offer shares to general public. If you want to buy shares, so last week expect next week there is another company, commercial, whatever, some credit company. If you want to be a shareholder of this company, you need to check the accounts. So some financial information is given in the form of prospectus. Then you check them, then you become external. Whoever who wants to lend money, lenders, bankers, they want to check. You need to provide information. And suppliers of raw materials and other things to an entity, they are external. Sometimes, that's why I just told you, in the real life, these things would be a challenge. Nowadays, in the case of global supply chains and just in management systems, instead of competition, prohibition, right? In the past, the entities engage in a fierce competition each other. Now they are merging together. They try to operate as either monopolies or oligopolies or oligarchies. In that process, suppliers also become part and parcel of your business process. They need to know about the internal information. Then the question arises, are suppliers external in real time? That's why I just told you, these are theoretical demarcations only. Anyway, you are supposed to know about these things because they may be tested for examination purposes. And again, when it goes to real life decision making, that matters. That is the reason. Rating agencies, public groups. So the secondary external users, they do not like get information directly from the entity in a way. Entity prepares information purposely for the primary users, but the same information can be used by secondary users. For example, being students for research purposes. Then you are a primary user or secondary user, researcher. Secondary user. Why? Entity does not prepare financial statement for the purpose of facilitating students or researchers to carry out research. So last point as is given. So they prepare for the primary users, but you use it for your own purposes as mentioned here. Analysts, academics, researchers, students. So now you understand. Then customers, rating agencies. So nowadays there are lots of discussions are going about rating agencies, Fitch ratings, Blue and S&P, and what's the other one? There are three. So they have downgraded Sri Lanka to great extent, especially mentioning about its repaying capacity of external debts. Yeah, that's one. Yes, thank you very much. Moody's, Fitch Ratings, and S&P. They are the three major rating agencies. They have already downgraded us to almost the default level, one level just above the default position. How did they do? They did it by looking at the accounts of the government, external reserves, amount of liability, ability to generate foreign exchange, ability to grow the economy. So likewise, so they and financing policies, fiscal policies, tax. So they take into account all those things. Right. One question. Auditors come under primary or secondary? Good question, because that is not mentioned. What do you think? Okay, it's good the time. So if you had time to ask you, anyway, so I'll just give you the answer directly. Auditors, of course, entities do not prepare financial statements by considering or thinking that yes, we prepare financial statements for auditors. Of course, auditors engage in the preparation of process, to be honest. So you guys, I don't know, maybe from third year onwards or maybe the final year, most of our management degree programs have an internship, that is a training component, where you will have a chance of working in real organization. Then you see, when auditors come to prepare the audit reports, so to carry out their audit, actually they are the guys practically finalize your accounts. So therefore they prepare, but not for themselves, for primary users. But when you carry out this year audit, auditors can use the last year financial statement. So the purpose of preparing financial statement is not for auditors. Therefore, auditors cannot become a primary user. They are secondary users. Someone has answered as well. Okay, I think so. You can think, and actually, this classification can be done in different internal and external based on access to information. How do you say? If you have more access to critical information, what is critical? That is information which has, I mean, which is price sensitive information, very highly internal. Then if you have access to such information, you become internal. That is why managers and directors become internal parties. They can engage in insider trading even sometimes if you want. So that is, so it reveals you something. Even though this democratic world, we say that this world is very open, democratic, market economy, and you can access to information? Practically, no, there is an asymmetry of information. Only very tiny group comprises of managers and directors has access to almost of all the important information found in entity. Other large majority, including the general public, has very little. Therefore, when there is an asymmetry of information, you could be deceived easily unless you engage in a very critical process of analyzing and questioning. Therefore, don't believe in things. Don't believe in information just thrown to you. Question and analyze. So that is the way to success. Ability to take part in the decision-making process. Of course, if you have a chance to influence in the decision-making process, you become internal. Primary and secondary are basically external users. IASB conceptual framework. The conceptual framework explain how the financial reporting, general purpose financial statement should be prepared, focusing the users of financial information. So they are, of course, outsiders. So directly, entity has an obligation to provide information to owners and lenders. So that is the reason why owners and lenders, or sometimes government entities, become primary users. They ask even tax authority, prepare a statement for us, just to check the your income tax liability and all those things. This is how they become primary, or the demarcation, classification between primary and secondary. This, of course, I need not to explain you much. You know that there are different, like two major branches, financial accounting and management accounting. Of course, now you can understand that the role or the areas of financial accounting pretty much deal with external users and other stakeholders, but it does not limit or does not restrict internal users to access. Purpose is to facilitate and support external users. Why? They do not have much access to the information. But if you want, even internal users can use them. However, when it comes to management accounting, of course, that process takes place with an objective of providing information to the managers. Therefore, they are mainly for internal purposes. Sometimes, even though they are two different branches, these two different branches do not function totally independent manner. They interact, they interface, interconnect, they intertwine for processing information. So if you work in an organization, you may see. But for the decision-making purposes, information purposes, yeah, you can classify like this. So different. So these are very traditional questions just to glance through. Need not to worry that much. Therefore, we can see some characteristics. How best we separate them. Primary users and any other secondary or internal, external, likewise. By referring to financial accounting and management accounting. Therefore, financial accounting refers to primary users, of course, and management account primary users would be then managers mainly, and outsiders are also there. When it comes to management accounting, the primary users will be managers. Types of reports. There could be so many different types of reports, but when it comes to financial accounting, they highly concerned about the entity's major operations, operating activities, financing activities, and investing activities. As a whole, then we prepare reports, abridged form, in a way, summary form. Whereas when it comes to management accounting, you need to detail out all those things. You need to detail out. Right. Because otherwise managers will not be able to take decisions outside. As an investor, if I know earnings per share or total profit earned by this particular company for a given quarter, that's pretty much enough. But for managers, so profit of 100 million may have come from so many divisions, maybe 10 divisions, and comprises of 100 types of products. They need to know which division has given most profit and least profit, and which product is profitable, which products are not profitable, likewise. So that information will help them to take decisions next year to continue with the same thing, or make some changes, or management decisions likewise. Without having such details, they can't take decisions. Frequency of preparing when it comes to financial accounting, of course, you need to have fixed time frame. You can't go to an entity and ask whenever you need information. So it's not possible, because that has to be prepared. Financial statements or general purpose financial statements have to be prepared in such a manner by taking a lot of pain and time, and by complying with lots of requirements. It's a time-taking task, and it is costly task. It incurs cost. So therefore, if you keep on preparing financial statements for external users every day with lengthy reports, then your entity, the managers and finance people will not have any other time to do the job. So therefore, limitations are there, and less flexibility. You need to present the information in given formats. When it comes to management accounting, so you have much flexibility. You can prepare report whenever you want, and any number of reports. If you work with computerized accounting system and go to the what you call section, pull down menu about reports, so you will be learning one of these software application for accounting ERP applications, where if you go to the report section, you see thousands and one reports can be generated, even for one particular aspect. So that's the situation. Nature of information, like to great extent, past-oriented information. It doesn't mean that only the past information when it comes to financial accounting. When we, for example, when we take the balance sheet tells you the total or the value of the total asset based on the past information. Past orientation is there. It doesn't assume that the value, net asset value is 100 million or the total asset is 150 million. It doesn't mean that it belongs to past. It has no use or relevance to future. No, it doesn't mean like that. Actually, balance sheet is a reflection of its capacity to operate in the future with that much money. With that example, hey, so based on the past information, it says that the total of the value of the total asset is 150 million. It means that managers have a capacity to operate with 150 million or net asset capacity of 100 million. So it has a future connection as well. However, when it comes to management accounting, always they prepare information by thinking for decision-making purposes, because that has not happened yet. That is why we call future-oriented information is there. Even if you use past information, so you take that past information to see, oh, what would be the future, whether there are any variations, sensitivities, increases, decreases, or something like that. I hope you understood. This is the orientation, and it is not whether it is future or past. Regulatory, of course, when it comes to financial accounting, it's highly regulated. You need to regulate. Why? Again, these demarcations have been given by looking at taking a limited liability company as an example, mainly a public company, public limited liability company. In a public limited liability company, if you carefully study, you may see lots of opportunities are there for the managers and handful of shareholders to misuse public funds, misuse public properties, misuse social things, even intangible. When we take media institutions use the frequencies available for general public. If they use these frequencies to spread utter lies or misleading information to deceive general public, so it's bad. If even with these kind of regulations, so this happens. You can understand the situation, pathetic situation. If they were not regulated, what kind of situation can happen? They can do any malicious thing, any nasty things. Even with the present level of regulatory, if you look at how people share posts, vulgar posts and mudslinging posts and misleading posts in Facebook and other, because regulatory framework system is not that strong, and again that is being used by authorities or sometimes with interior or ulterior political motives. So because of these things, you can see, is that fair? It's not fair. If you do something on your own and come out within your individual capacity, somebody may argue that it's all right, okay, we'll take care of it individually. But if you have given enormous powers to a limited liability company and all the opportunities and asking them to kill majority by doing or engaging in these nasty things, that's not fair. So there's a greater possibility that that could happen. That is the reason why when it comes to even financial accounting keeps that part, hey guys, you do something within the management, but when it comes to reporting, you better carefully provide all those information. You can't play the game. You can't just say tell lies. Though practically, even they very shrewdly, carefully creep through from these things. But you can understand the logic. Managers, such requirements are not there. They can freely use the information. Reports already, therefore, by taking into account these two dimensions, financial accounting and management accounting, you prepare two different types of reports. Those reports are broadly categorized as general purpose financial reports. They are nothing but what we call financial statements that you have to. Other specific or special purpose financial reports could be any report prepared to serve a specific purpose. It could be for internal purpose or external purpose. For instance, if an entity prepares a kind of statement or income, how income was generated, to be presented to the Inland Revenue Department, that is an outside entity, that's an external report, but that external report becomes special purpose report just to pay tax. And likewise, if you are supposed to submit a report to the Bribery Commission, Central Bank, likewise, they might ask you, just give us a report. In a case of forensic audit, just provide specific financial statement provided. You know that there was a forensic audit about so-called bond scam in Sri Lanka several years ago. For that purpose, lots of reports were prepared. They are special purpose reports. So general purpose reports, you know, the types: profit or loss statement, balance sheet, that is the financial position, cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, like this. You know that these two are well known by yourself: profit or loss and financial position. Okay, out of these two, which statement can give a clearer picture or complete picture of an entity? Financial position or statement of profit or loss? Yeah, one or two. P&L or balance sheet? 2, second one. Very good. Balance sheet, yes. Actually, balance sheet of an entity tells everything. If you can have a balance sheet, that is pretty much enough to get a rough idea. Then you may ask the question, then why do you want to prepare a profit or loss statement? Huh? Okay, one says that a combination of both. Yes, of course, there are uses. I don't say that the other one is not important. Both provides, when you take a profit or loss statement and the financial position, it gives you lots of information. But even if you take the balance sheet itself only, yeah, balance sheet has everything. So if you have total assets of the entity at a given point in time, if you can compute and ascertain, and if you can compute liabilities, just difference is equity. That's the equation. Need not to worry. If you take 2 positions of balance sheets, so that is the profit. Very simple. Actually, if you look at the mathematics in accounting, it's very simple if you understand from that particular perspective. So balance sheet really serves all the purposes, but not in detail. So that's why to provide how the position change during the period in terms of income and expenses is explained in the profit or loss. Even without having the profit or loss, by preparing 2 different balance sheets, you can say that how much profit has been earned. That is what you learned in advanced level by computing changes in net assets. You see, by that time you may not have paid much attention, no, because you were tight competition. Now you need to pay attention. Yes, actually computation of changes in net asset is the calculation of profit, but that is not adequate for detailed decision making. Anyway, nevertheless, when you combine both, you have full information. When it comes to the statement of cash flows, that is why it says it identifies the changes in financial position in terms of cash flows. That means the changing financial position. So second statement, that's what I just told you. If there is a change in financial position, that is either the profit or loss. That's pretty much all right. So then why do you want to have a cash flow statement if you can measure, or if you can prepare 2 statements of financial position and see how it has changed? That information is already there. Then why do you want to have another one? The reason is this: the first 1 and 2, or the statement of financial position, is prepared on accrual basis. But you learn in accounting, you know what the accrual basis is. It has its own limitations, and where managers have enormous opportunities of playing games, manipulating numbers, misinterpreting numbers. Something may be due to its own reasons. Practical reasons also, there would be differences. So therefore, we do the same exercise. Same changes in financial position is computed in terms of cash flows, cash basis. That is the reason why when you prepare a statement of cash flows, these changes are explained in 3 categories. Operating activities, that is the profit in cash flows. Changes in investing activities, that is the acquisition of assets, property, plant and equipment, and other assets. So situation shown in the statement of financial position. And changes in financial activities, that is financing activities, that is how you collected or dealt with lenders and owners. That's it. You see the simple comparison. That is how you should compare these 3 statements. The 4th one, of course, is an additional information statement. There is no requirement of preparing the 4th one, but it is required by, as a result of accounting standards. Number 1, this is a component. Why? When you prepare the above two statements, profit or loss statement and statement of financial position. And when accounting standards involve, accounting standards ask you to do certain things, what we call provisions. Some provisions leave room or give rise to show aggregate figures instead of giving the details which are pertaining to some equity related items. Due to accounting requirements of accounting standard, later we will be talking about these things. So for the time being, remember that there are instances where details of how some aspects of equity, not all, some aspects of equity change during the period, which are not fully disclosed in profit or loss statement or in the financial position, in order to give good understanding how it moved, how it changed, separate statement is prepared. So very best purpose of giving these different types of general purpose financial statement is to provide quality, complete, and comparable information. That's the idea. So these are the regulation framework. You need to comply with accounting standards and Companies Act, Accounting and Auditing Standards Act, and sometimes other sector specific acts. For instance, you can take nowadays the recently enacted Finance Act. You better read it, very important. That Finance Act allows persons to disclose undisclosed assets, undisclosed income, undisclosed what you call supplies, without disclosing the source from which you earn it, saying that I have 500 million or 1 billion rupees or $100 million. Don't ask from where I earn it. I have not disclosed. Now account for this thing, take a 1% tax. So all the black money can be made to be white now. Then some listing rules, Colombo Stock Exchange listing rules, Securities Exchange and Commission the directives, and another new act, actually Securities Exchange Act also has been revised. That is available on the net now. You better download them and read. That would be good reading. Okay, so someone wants to have the last slide. Someone is asking about this money laundering. Yeah, this is the last slide. General purpose. So these are the components of report. These are the purpose. Then someone asked about a question. I like you guys asking questions. Is it like permitting money laundering? Yes, of course, it allows, but not in the name of money laundering. Laundering is just washing, making clean. So washing, you wash your clothes. Once you wash your clothes, it's clean, not dirty. So this amendments of this particular act has an avenue to do so. Money laundering means, suppose that you have earned something. 1 year before you had 500 million. After 1 year, today you have 5,000 million. Now we'll take in terms of maybe 100. So you had 100, now you have 500. You have earned 400 more. When you return income tax reports or any other dealing with the tax authorities, you have disclosed only 150. You said that last year I had 100, now this year 150. But really your wealth is 500. So you may have bought assets here and there, sometimes even within Sri Lanka. So if the authorities check and examine, they could be found. But to great extent, So they do not keep these kind of even. It doesn't mean that they have illegally earned these things. They may have legally earned, but do not disclose because just to avoid tax. They don't want to pay more tax. Undisclosed wealth or income does not mean that they are illegal sources. Could be illegal or legal. Legal, but you do, but both cases you don't want to pay taxes. Even smuggling arms, humans, or drug trafficking, anything that is illegal, but you have not disclosed. So where can you keep? You need to have havens. So tax havens. There are lots of tax havens around the world, so-called financial centers. One of the major such haven disclosed in these Pandora papers is the one which is located in Switzerland, called Freeport. Freeport, the space which is described in the paper is bigger as much as 20 times of a soccer field. Such a huge what you call logistic arrangement, storage facility to keep your artifacts or jewelry, gold, or maybe stolen or gold, whatever. No. So you have them there. So you can keep it, but you can't bring them into disclosed sources unless you have legally validated and accepted form. If you bring that, for example, I had 100, I disclose 150, real one is 500. I have excess 350. So tomorrow, when I buy a company in Sri Lanka, if someone asks, so from where did you find this 350? I am unanswerable. So therefore, I would be subject to huge penalties. Later on, I might say, no, of course, due to mistakes or whatever, those things, actually, this is the profit earned from my businesses. I did not disclose. Okay, I purposely did not disclose just to evade taxation. Okay, take your taxes. So other than that, they can't do anything. They might charge you tax, penalties, and all those things. So that is the proper way. You need to catch them and bring the tax which should come to the society for the benefit of everyone. Now, you give a chance and opportunity for them. Okay, don't worry. Don't disclose how you earn. Maybe from legal sources, illegal sources. If you have not disclosed, now you have a chance before 31st March 2022. Come to Sri Lanka, not for everyone in the world, Sri Lankan citizens living abroad or in Sri Lanka, no matter where you keep your property here and there, disclose, you are free. We'll give you a clean ticket. So that is really allowing you to engage. Pandora papers, simply type the internet, Pandora papers, you would be brought to this particular site. There would be so many different sources, but you better go to this organization that is called ICIJ, International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Right. Okay, since the time is just running fast, just quickly move on. You can read it. So of course, accounting standards, you are familiar with these things. This is the Accounting Standard Act number 15 of 1995, which is a part and parcel of a legal system. It requires to set up accounting standard a committee under the CA Sri Lanka. They now pronounce accounting standards for Sri Lanka. On the other hand, there is another body, what we call Sri Lanka Accounting and Auditing Standard Monitoring Board, what we call in acronym /MB. They monitor institutions whether they follow and comply with accounting standards. So now we have two types of accounting standard: LKS, Lanka Accounting Standard, and Sri Lanka Financial Reporting Standard. Nevertheless, no matter what the labels are used, both are Sri Lanka accounting standards. Then why do we have two? Two is the reason in the global scenario, there were two camps in the world, especially for accounting, that is Anglo-Saxon accounting and GAAP, generally accepted accounting principle, really based in the United States. So then Anglo-Saxon was preparing international accounting standards. The USA-based entity institutions were preparing statement of financial reportings under the GAAP, generally accepted accounting principle. But Sri Lanka, being a colony of British, and we have been just following UK, so Anglo-Saxon, we have been following international accounting standards, which have been issued by the International Accounting Standards Setting Board. So later on, in 2000, somewhere, I can't remember the exact year, so they merged down, they agree now, even they maintain their own standard and all those things, but for international purposes, so just to facilitate the globalization, now hereinafter we will issue international accounting standard in the name of IFRSs, which take into account all those dimensions. So hereinafter, if you follow international accounting standards, you will not get any additional or new international accounting standards. New international accounting standards come in the name of International Financial Report. So just matching name, just to match the name, instead of naming them as LKAS, Sri Lanka Accounting Standard, we name them as Sri Lanka Financial Reporting Standards. So after sometimes maybe 10, 15 years, 20, 30, we do not know when, once these LKASs are either done away with or replaced with new, in future you will see only SLFRSs. Accounting standard have specified mainly the conceptual framework, has specified entities. These entities must or shall comply with accounting standards when they prepare financial statements, especially companies listed on stock exchange, banks. For the banks, also additional requirements are also there. Additional accounting standards are there, so they are specified, mentioned in this particular act. Insurance companies, factoring, finance companies, leasing, unit trust. Some of these companies can operate as shell companies, as I just mentioned you, to facilitate this fund of swindling funds. Just here and there, you got to be very careful. Fund management companies, stockbrokers and stock dealers, stock exchange. Therefore, Colombo Stock Exchange also has to prepare. Some public companies engage in the sale of goods or provision of services. For example, here public companies refer, not the public listed companies, right? There are two types of, this word is misused. When we take John Keel's is a public listed company. But when you say Ceylon Electricity Board, it's a public company owned by the state. So it produces electricity and sells. So therefore, it becomes a public company. Electricity Board therefore has to prepare the statement accordingly. Then non-listed companies as well. If your turnover specifications are given there, likewise, you better read them leisurely. That means these companies are compulsory to prepare, but it does not mean that others should not prepare. They can, any entity, even a sole proprietorship, even an associate, any entity can take into account accounting standards and prepare the financial statement as they like. Right. Now, Companies Act. So some details are there, you can read it later. So these are the purposes, you don't worry that much. They refer to the purpose of auditors, annual reports, likewise. All those things have been done by keeping in the mind that that company has the access to deal with public properties. Therefore, legal framework should protect and preserve the interest of mainly the general public. It should not, these actions should not be allowed to deprive the interest of innocent people. So that is how provisions have been included. Specific sector acts like Banking, Finance Act, likewise, even you can take these new amendments to the Finance Act 2021. Read it, it's not a big one. I have it here. I was just reading it. Yeah, this is the, yeah, this is a singular one. That is the Finance Act. It contains only limited number of pages, just 19 small pages. You can read it. It's worth reading. Annual report is a complete report which has mandatory requirements and non-mandatory. Mandatory means compulsory, you must report. So these are the things basically they are given in the content pages. So basic things, your background, your leadership, management, again, executive reviews, management discussion and analysis, governance and risk analysis, financial statements, supplementary information, and their performance over the year. So in a nutshell, performance also should be disclosed. Then main disclosures, other areas, even group information should also be disclosed. Now this financial reporting is moving towards integrated reporting that takes into account everything, because reporting includes mandatory and non-mandatory. So how big should it be, how comprehensive should it be, is being discussed among different corners. Now we have moved towards some juncture or level called integrated reporting, where everything is taken into account through an integrated model, business model. Then reporting is going to be maintained in that way as of now. This is how the corporate report has been evolving. Financial statements only, balance sheet, and in the profit or loss, now different components. And in the reporting, additional things came in, management commentary, governance. Likewise, by 2000, many things came, especially after collapse of Enron and corporate scandals. So lots of things were introduced. Now 2020, we are moving, not really moving towards, already we are in the integrated reporting phase. This is how evolution has been influenced by different perspectives: governance, corporate reporting, audited. So these three perspectives are enriching the corporate reporting day by day. In future, sometimes you may see new dimensions of corporate reporting through algorithms or automatic reporting system, online reporting system. Simply, we may do away with physical reporting in future for sure. So these are some accounting jobs you can leisurely see. So these are some pass out students from the Department of Accounting. Accounting field is like expanding to other areas. It does not simply operate within the concept of accounting. It is integrated with finance and other functional areas. It nowadays works together. And yeah, one of actually two faculty members also from, not two, I think now many, Professor Samanthi and the coordinator Udeshanta sir, maybe from the very first batch of the accounting department. Professor Samanthi is, of course, yes, from the very first batch. And there are others. So they hold a key position in the corporate world and public sector. They are here only selected just figures. And sometimes there could be some other figures we do not know, we do not have the access as of now. They may engage in the society in different forms. Actually, success does not mean that your own and individual personal success. So according to my perception and understanding, success depends on how happy you are from a very broader perspective as a human living in a society by respecting everyone. So that's very broad. So therefore, this learning will help you to achieve that success. Hope you continue. So you have the opportunity in the university to not to grasp a piece of information and reproduce them at the examination, but to question and challenge the entire world from a critical perspective, and to be a very great citizen in the future. So anyway, so with that, I will conclude today's session. Thank you so much. Some of the sessions I will be conducting, but I'm not sure whether I will be teaching to the same group, but I will be teaching some select. So I've been given 10 session. Anyway, no matter whether we will meet in the same subject or not, we will be meeting in other discussions and all the time. So feel free to contact us. So if you need any information, you can access to me through my email, even from any other sources. All the best. I'm so happy, and it was my great pleasure to share my experiences and just telling you how best you should learn. So thank you so much. If you have any question, like quick, maybe a few minutes can be taken. All right. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.